Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the SYS Group investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged using the Q&A tab situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Just simply type in your question at any time and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today, and we'll publish those responses where it's appropriate to do so. Before we begin, we'd like to submit the following poll, and if you give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company will be most grateful. I'd now like to hand over to the management team of SYS Group. EJ, good morning.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone. My name is EJ Che. I'm the Executive Chairman. To my left, there's Owen Phillips, our CFO. And on my right is Ross Humphrey, Chief AI Officer. Thank you for your time today. As you're aware, we announced last week that we raised 11 million pounds, which was oversubscribed with both existing and new investor participating. I must also add that the management and the board invested 600,000 pounds in the raise as well. Today, we want to provide the opportunity for retail investors to participate. Having run 3 PLC during the past 20 years, I'm dating myself here, really appreciate the support that retail investors give the companies. You put the time to get to know the company well and are truly long-term investors. I really appreciated the support you gave me well in the 12 years I was at SCAPA, where most of you stayed through the entire 12-year journeys, through the ups and downs. But I think net we all came out well when I sold the business 3 years ago. Just give you a little bit of a background about myself for those who don't know me. Prior to SYS Group, I was the chief exec of SCAPA Group PLC, Manchester-based global manufacturer, healthcare industrial business. We took it from 170 million to over 300 million in turnover. The market cap when I joined was 24 million, similar to what SYS is today, and sold it 3 years ago to US multinational, about 450 million pounds. So very good return and a great journey from a personal level as well. Prior to that, I was a group chief exec of another PLC called Rolex Group, global manufacturer of power cords and cable assembly. And before I joined the industry, I started my career in finance, starting with the Blackstone Group. Then got my MBA from Harvard Business School as well. So when I sold the business 3 years ago, I was reflecting on what I wanted to do next. And having ran industrial manufacturing business most of my career, I wanted to be part of a sector that was growing, that was dynamic, and that was exciting. And obviously, quickly focused on technology. And within that, it was evident that AI is where all the activity and all the investments and innovations were coming from. So I think I quickly recognized kind of what the potential of AI could be. You know, having spent the last 20 years running small, medium businesses in the UK, what AI could benefit. But I also recognized the challenges of a small, medium businesses in terms of how to engage with the technology and the limitation. So with that in mind, I went through, I would say, a list of about 300 companies in the UK that kind of fit some of the basic criteria I had. I went one by one, knocked at the doors, and started talking to them. Out of the 300 in the list, 11 were publicly listed company, and one was SYS Group, which ticked a lot of the boxes, and I thought it was a good foundation for us to build the thesis behind the SYS today. So when I took over SYS Group in April of last year after acquiring 14% of the business, I wrote a check for over 2 million of my own personal money, wealth, to become an investor in the business. SYS Group was a roll-up MSP, typical roll-up MSP. through series of acquisitions, 6 from 2016 to 2022. It provides primarily hosting services, cybersecurity, managed support, and consultancy. It has about 100 employees in 5 offices across the UK. From a financial perspective, in the announced RNS we put out about a month ago for the year past, ending March, our revenue was 22.7, adjusted EBITDA of 2 million. It has a recurring revenue of over 70%, which I think it's a significant positive. Not a capital-intensive business, so 80% cash conversion, and it had net debt of 3.4 million. I think one of the biggest asset that the business brought was its customer base. It has around 500 customers that are active. 90% of those which will be classed as an SMB. There's no significant customer concentration, the largest being about 6% of the revenue. And they're all long-standing. You can see some of the logos on the right-hand side. They're actually very good name, very decent name. And having said that, they only buy only few of the offerings that we offer. And what that translates from our perspective is significant opportunity to cross-sell. And I think we've been able to evidence that the last 6 months past. So, when I joined the business 12 months ago, we've been very busy since. So these are some of the changes in the transformation we went, not only from a strategy perspective, but also in the execution and the leadership of the group. Out of the 13 people that constitute a senior leadership team, 11 have been replaced, including the CEO and the CFO, with a team of 8, including 6 new talents on a relatively cost-neutral basis. We also recruited an AI team led by Ross here, of software engineers from blue chip organizations such as JP Morgan, AWS, McLaren, values as such. To complement the capability that already existed, as well as the AI, we recruited a team of cloud experts to become hosting platform agnostic to help customer, transition, migrate, and support in their environment, whether that's AWS, Azure, or G Cloud. And I think the validations of the capability and the competence of the people we brought in, I think is reflected in the next 2 bullet points. So in the short amount of time that we've been focused on this in this strategy, we achieved AWS Select's tier partner status, which is the second level in the short amount of time. And for those who follow and understand how the partnership program at AWS or any of the cloud provider works, that is a very meaningful and significant validation that supports not only our ability to grow, but in terms of our ability to engage with the broader market. 2 weeks ago, we also announced that we've been designated as an outsourced partner for AI ML by Softcat, which is the UK largest value-added reseller, to provide AI ML. As you know, Softcat are very much a reseller of both software and hardware. They do not really invest in technology per se, but they rely on a partnership network to offer a broad range of capability to its vast customer. For us, that opens up another channel of opportunities and customers that we can tap into. And again, I think the fact that Softcat will partner with someone like us, I think is really validation of the reputation and the credibility of the team that we've been able to bring on board, which I think Ross will touch on later in the presentation. We're also rebuilding our sales organization. One of the new recruits that I brought in, Heinrich Kortz, is a 10-year veteran at Softcat, where he was involved in building the sales organization in their Bristol office and their London office. and he is replicating that success Softcat has achieved, being very much sales-driven, growth-focused entrepreneurial culture. We have recruited 3 additional salespeople from Softcat that joined us in our journey. And I think green shoot of that working and taking place is really evidenced by what we've been able to deliver last 6 months, H2 of last year, from a growth perspective. We had 13.5% organic growth, which I think in context of really, I think, flat to no growth in the last 5 years at SYS, ex acquisition, really, I think, validates that we brought the right people and we have the right strategy in place. So this is the picture of the team that's in place. I wasn't allowed to join because I'm too old for the picture, apparently. So again, it really shows if you look underneath some of the backgrounds of the people as well as the capability, I think this is probably the biggest asset we have and the strength in the business. That really a management team that is really capable and experienced. I think, I don't have to say much about the hype around AI market and what it can do. I mean, here are some of the bullet points, which I think most of you seen in pretty much every periodical and journal that's out there, as far-fetched as that they're going to take over the world, but in the context of business, in terms of the benefit, in terms of the productivity gain, somewhere between 20 to 40% of business, in terms of what it can do from a manufacturing productivity, in terms of what it can do to enhance and augment the sales and growth and marketing. So, it goes without saying AI is here. And if I were to steal a line from Eric Schmidt, who's ex-CEO of Google, in recent interview, he said he doesn't think AI is overhyped. I mean, it's underhyped. Sorry, is overhyped. It's actually underhyped. I think being in the thick of what's happening in AI ML space and some of the development and the investment we're seeing, I think it's amazing what's going on, and it's amazing what the potential AI will have on a business if they were to embrace it. I think the challenge, having said that, is that I think UK in particular are behind in the rest of the world in terms of the adoption and understanding of AI. And, as I said before, from my previous experience of running SMB for the last 20 years, I totally understand the challenges they're going through. I think on the first level, I think it will apply to probably most people out there, is that we have a very limited understanding what AI is. I think it vacillates all the way from the Terminator to ChatGPT or Copilot. And I think people struggle, okay, what kind of strategy do I need in place for my business specifically? Which really quickly leads to kind of the financial implication of it. What is the value proposition? What's the cost and return on investment? And equally, how does it integrate to my existing infrastructure? A lot of the investor owners and CEOs are thinking about how much investments they made in terms of their own existing infrastructure. And every consultant who they bring in their conversation with AI will quickly say, well, you got to move everything to AWS or Azure or cloud and obsolete and bin in all the capital investment they make. So there's a lot of kind of financial hurdle people need to overcome before they really kind of say, okay, I want to jump on the AI bandwagon. But even past those 2 hurdles, you're kind of stuck, okay, looking at your internal capability, but also external capability. I think today there are a lot of people who professes themselves as an AI expert, which I think is challenging trying to understand where they're credible or not. And equally, looking at your internal capability who are used to managing hardware to really understand how AI can be integrated to their business. And I think, the next slide really, I think, captures the challenge of someone who's looking to navigate really a complex and fragmented AI value chain. I think if you were to Google right now and say AI expert, AI partner, AI supplier, I think you'll get a really a smorgasbord of different capability. And there's a combination of actual fragmentation and the skill set required to deliver end-to-end AI, because it transgresses not just the tool in itself in a software machine learning, but also the hardware, the infrastructure, but post the implementation, the system and the maintenance of the a model going forward. So what we want to do is really, I think, simplify the customer's perspective into 6 different technology stack. And in essence, really taking the approach of looking at the situation from a data perspective. End of the day, data is what fuels AI. And the value proposition is really understanding how does data get collected, how it gets hosted, how it gets connected, how it gets protected, what's the security around the system, and the support and monitoring to really achieve the value add of an AI. So for us, simplifying in the context of a data journey is what we're trying to do. So with that, let me turn it over to Ross, who can really walk you through what's our proposition, but also kind of talk about what's different about us than the rest of other people out there.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Ross, I'm the Chief AI Officer. So a bit of background, I joined the company 6 months ago with a team of people to deliver AI services for SYSGROUP. We've expanded up to 8 people now, with a range of disciplines, with the mindset that we're going to become the partner of choice for small and medium-sized businesses on their AI digital transformation journeys. So the way in which we're looking at doing that is to offer an end-to-end solution for customers, looking at their use cases and helping them really discover what they can do with AI and how they can use the technology. As Hijay's pointed out already, this is very much a data-centric engagement that we do with customers, and I'll go through some details on how we do those engagements in a moment. But we want to meet our customers where they're at. So the way in which we do this is by building a solution that is agnostic to the hosting environment they're in. So we realize the complexity of SMB businesses and the way in which they run their IT platforms. Often they have some on-prem, some cloud presence, and we really need to build models that facilitate where the customer is hosting their current infrastructure. So the way in which we've done that is we've built a proprietary framework, and this hosts the machine learning solutions that we build at scale. And we can do this in a way where we are very attractive from a cost perspective, but also performance from an inference perspective. So we take the burden of training on board ourselves using the platforms and the economies of scale that we have, and I'll go into more detail on that in a moment. But essentially what we've made ourselves is an aggregator of machine learning models. So we possess the skills internally to build our own custom machine learning models, but we also realize that there is power in using existing solutions as well. So what that ends up doing is positioning us somewhere in between a SaaS product where we have a platform that we deliver our solutions on, but also a professional services organization as well, where we have very highly skilled people that can deliver the outcomes that our customers need. So the way in which we service our customers on an ongoing basis is also important. So we realize that over time business requirements change, and so do the performance metrics of organizations, and the machine learning models that we build today might not be fit for tomorrow. So what we do is we offer a managed service that looks at the infrastructure, but also at the quality of the model as well. And we work with customers to train that on an ongoing basis to make sure that they're getting the results that they require. Next slide. So the way in which we deliver that is through a 4-stage process. The first piece of this process at the moment is very, very important. So we're at a very early stage in this journey with customers, and the technology itself is fairly unknown to a lot of the smaller and medium-sized businesses that are looking to use it. So what we help them do is define what success in AI and machine learning looks like. So we'll sit with them, look at their business goals and their KPIs, and really help them understand what AI and ML can do for them. Once we've done that, we come up with a use case and a business case as well, and we evaluate what type of data they have within their organization. This is done on a 90-minute free phone call with a customer, and at this point, they've spent no money with us at all. So it's a very low barrier of entry to engage with us as an organization, and at the end of it, they have a good idea of where they can take their machine learning journey and where they should start. The next piece of this is a paid engagement, which is our data engineering engagement. This is where we use a blend of automated tooling and our professional services team to go into an organization and look at the size of the data estate that they have, but also the quality of the data within it. And what this helps us do is inform how the organization is run at the moment from an operational and process perspective, but also what type of data do they have and how are they managing that at the moment. Off the back of this, we then have a very good idea of what data they have and the problem they're going to solve. And we then move into an engagement around their machine learning model and what they should be using to solve that problem. So we can select the models and train them, and we do that using our platform that we've built out internally, which I'll talk about in a minute. We can then test that against the KPIs that we've defined in step 1 with the customer and produce a solution that solves their problem. Once we've done this and the customer's happy that it solves their problem and has signed it off, we can move that solution to a production environment. And we're very focused on this as a team. At the moment in the market, there is a very high focus on doing proof of concepts and pushing those out. Whilst they do offer some value, we actually believe that moving customers to a production solution as the primary focus is the best for the customer. So once we've done that, we then manage that on an ongoing basis. So we're looking at the quality of the model and also managing that underlying infrastructure as well. And what this tends to do is, whilst customers go through this process, they have more of an understanding of what the technology can do, and they come up with more ideas. So as you produce the results that they can see and tangibly use, they often come up with more use cases, which in turn results in more work for us as a business as well. So the way in which we deliver this is our kind of unique value proposition. So we realized that the kind of consultancy business of having one person to deliver one engagement and scaling that up in a linear fashion doesn't really work. So what we've done instead is we've built this underlying deployment platform that we can host our models on and train them as well. And there's a number of benefits to this. So the first one is that we're platform agnostic. So like I've already mentioned, one of the big hurdles that a lot of customers have is that they have these very fragmented environments, or they're just not very modern, right? So they have an on-prem environment at the moment, but they want to engage in machine learning and the technology and the benefits that it can offer. So what we've done is built this platform agnostic hosting platform where we don't really care about the underlying compute. Obviously, there are some hard restrictions on the performance that we need to discuss with customers, and we do that. But we're very agnostic and can move with customers. This is something at the moment that is actually a big problem in the machine learning space. Customers are maybe 6 months into a 12-month migration, for example, and we can step in, deliver machine learning in their current environment, and then when they move to the new cloud environment, we can move with them in a very seamless and cost-effective way. The next part of this is where we are able to build our platform and integrate it very easily through the API layer that we've created. So we've got a lot of integration points with your familiar AWS Azure environments, but also with off-the-shelf SaaS platforms as well. So CRMs, ERPs that we've done work with in the past, and we've realized that there's a hurdle that a lot of customers have integrating this technology. So often the machine learning workload sits on its own somewhere and produces a spreadsheet that isn't really part of a business process. So this framework helps integrate with the customer's environment and helps to integrate with their current processes that they have. So the reason this is scalable for us as a business is we're not doing this work time and time again. We have an underlying delivery platform, and that enables us to move very, very quickly as a team and not do repeat work. And that means we don't have to scale in a linear fashion. We can use this underlying framework in order for us to deliver projects. When people often hear this, they often think of big product teams that sit behind platforms like this. The way in which we built this is so that it's very light from a platform development perspective, and very easy to maintain. So when we push the updates out for security reasons or performance reasons, this is done to all of our customers at the same time. This is not a customized piece of software. It's only the models that are customized for the customer and their solution. And that means that we can build this and keep it very performant and very secure on an ongoing basis without having a huge number of people to support that.
Case studies.
Yeah, so
Anonymize it.
okay, yeah. So in terms of where we've seen success with this delivery model so far, we have 2 case studies to talk around. So the first one is a very large online retailer in the UK that we've worked with. They came to us in November, so it's actually my second day in the company, and had a conversation with us around leaving SYSGROUP. So that's our on-prem hosted environment, and they were looking to go to AWS. Historically, as a business, we didn't possess the skills required to do that migration, and therefore they used another partner to start that process over a 2-year period. They spent £500,000 with that partner and unsuccessfully migrated their workload over to AWS. So they were obviously not very impressed with the current partner that they had, but also kind of disenchanted with moving to cloud. So our team had a look at the platform they were trying to migrate from SysCloud and worked out that we could do the work within 3 weeks, delivered that very, very quickly to the customer, moved all of their production workloads across, decommissioned the existing SysCloud platform, and obviously the customer was very, very happy with this. So this is obviously a good example of how those new skill sets that we brought into the company have benefited our customers, but also the opportunity it gives us as a business moving forward. So off the back of that, they then signed a 24/7 support agreement with us, which I think is a validation of the good work we've done. And over time, they've then started looking at how they can move more work to Sys as a consultancy and professional services business. So it's a good validation. We're engaged with their C-level executives across the organisation now, and we're looking at how we can push their data journey forward and how we can start delivering machine learning workloads with them as a business.
And talk about the revenue profile, how we were able to kind of
take
the revenue we're going to lose.
Yeah, so the revenue profile, you know, by way of example, so 100% of the revenue was on our hosted platform that the customer was paying with us previously. That then moved to a very different model because obviously moving to a hyperscaler, the hosting charges then drop for us as a business and move to the hyperscaler. And what that means is that we had to kind of realize the difference between, you know, let's say 100% and 10%, you know, after that migration. And the way in which we did that obviously was taking on that 24/7 support agreement, and that brought it up significantly. So, you know, offering value rather than just a hosting environment to the customer. And then we've actually surpassed the original revenue that we were making from that customer through a number of professional services engagements. So this is where, you know, the spend that they're spending on the hosting platform is almost multiplied up by the amount of professional services work that we've done with them. And the customer is actually in a much better position, you know, off the back of that. So whereas they were paying 100% before for just the hosting, they're now paying, you know, slightly more than that, but they have a much better environment that's more performant. And from a retailer perspective as well, you know, their transition from non-paying customer to paid customer has also gone up, which is very good. Next, the next case study that we have is a machine learning only engagement that we had with a customer. So they came to us with a very open remit of like, what can AI do for our company, and you know, what can we use it for? We sat with them in a room, went through some of the problems they were facing as a business, and quickly came up with a number of ideas that we could work on together. So the next stage after that initial engagement was to look at their data, and the data that they gave us was of the highest quality that I'd seen in my career so far. So over a period of 20 years, they diligently managed that data on an ongoing basis, showed us what they had internally, and off the back of that, within 2 days, we were able to come up with a proof of concept that showed the value that we could add as a business.
The car dealers, yeah?
Yeah, it's a car dealership. Yeah, sorry, I should have added. So they were looking at, as a use case, on how they could increase the customer spend, and how they could target customers at the right time and target them with the right products as well, and the right marketing material. So once we'd done the proof of concept, we moved to a production rollout of a slightly more complex solution. And off the back of that, they were able to, in a natural language, so the way in which they communicated with each other within the dealership, communicate with the model that we had built, and get the answers as to when someone was most likely to buy, what they were most likely to buy, and when they should target them, given a number of inputs that they had from a number of different systems in their dealership. So I think that shows that, within a very short space of time, within 6 months, we've added value to a number of customers, not just those ones as part of SYSGROUP.
Yeah, I mean, I think an example, in the conversation we had with the owner was, he said he comes in the morning, he looks at the inventory that he has in the lot, and he sees there's this is a Range Rover Jaguar dealer. He says, I have 3 Range Rovers with the black color and certain trim, and thinks, oh, Mr. Smith bought the same, likes that trim, bought it 2 years ago. He should be up to, upgrade his car to the new model. And, traditionally he asks the salespeople, hey, have you called Mr. Smith? And he has to manage that way. And his challenge was like, why can't the sales guy get up in the morning and speak to ChatGPT and say, who are the 3 customers I should call, or 10 customers I should call today based on the cars in the lot. So these are the kind of the dynamic conversation the salesperson can have, and have hyper individualized marketing that they can put in place that I think just will accelerate their revenue. So it's a really, I think, interesting use case. And, the tractions we've been, the feedback we've been getting from not only that customer, but other partners who are aware of it, it's been really exciting. Okay. I think this is repeat,
Yeah,
right?
this is
Just let's get that. So our engagement model, I think I alluded to earlier in the presentation, is that how we go about to the customer. And it's really, I think, reframing what we're selling. I think if you look at the typical MSP, the way they engage with the customer is looking to sell specific product or services, whether saying, hey, Mr. Customer, do you need more hosting? You need to upgrade your protection. How about connectivity? We're representing a different security software now. Do you be interested? Which I think works. But from our perspective, I think that we're looking at a differential from a data perspective, because data is the lifeblood of AI. I think what's different about business today and going forward is that every business generates its own set of data, whether that's through ERP system, CRM system, HR system, websites, different database, the internal communication, whether that's Slacks or Teams, and even flat documents. We have technology now that we can convert PDF and the machine can read it. And that is a very valuable commodity that every business generates every day. And what you do with that is the huge competitive advantage that we're trying to harness for our customers and have them recognize that. And for them to really do that really is to understand how data gets collected, but most importantly, how it needs to get hosted, stored, protected, connected, and put out security and monitor to really get to the analytics where the AI kicks in and be able to contribute and augment and generate productivity for the businesses. So for us, our salespeople will go in talking about your data source, Mr. Customer, then that allow us to touch every technology stack that encompasses the IT environment that all businesses exist under. So for us, really, I think if you combine the AI as a lead-in, as a kind of the Trojan horse in terms of the conversation we initiate with our customer, in terms of, are you interested in AI? What can you do with AI? And let us help you get it in AI. Naturally leads to us looking at every element of the environment and create a flywheel. And a great case study is, there's a customer, kind of quasi-government entity that Ross engaged literally first day at work. I mean, we're very keen to really mount as many customers as possible because we knew there was this tremendous demand of people wanting to not learn, but really get engaged on this. So this is a company that is focused on aggregating cell and gene therapy solution across the different industry, and they store a lot of data, and they really were keen to do something with the data. So the first meeting, Ross This is kind of November 7th. I mean, it's kind of getting very specific, but we do that to explain to you kind of the velocity of revenue you can generate. So November 7th, Ross showed up, spoke to their management team in terms of what we think we can do. 2 days later, we were wheeled out to their Turing Institute, which is a government entity that proofs out any AI consultants or AI suppliers. Month later, we got our first order to do, a health check on their data environment, which led to kind of first looking at their entire environment and identify some of the upgrade potential, whether that's, server component, the patching that is required to couple the devices. All of this are different revenue stream, and ultimately kind of leading the different elements, touching every stack that we talked about. Last year, they spent with us about 200,000 pounds. In 6 months since their first engagement that Ross had on November 7th, they had spent incremental 600,000 pounds. Again, this impact of Flywheel being able to be their partner of end-to-end choice, not on a just AI, which some people do, or just on the infrastructure. We want to be able to help them in terms of the outcome of the solution they're looking for, not the different the plumbing and the electricals to get there. So hopefully we gave you some of the use cases that we're looking for. And again, the idea that we want to be able to have all the arrows in our quiver to support our customer is important. So to that end, M&A is part of our strategy. So let me turn it over to Owen, and he can walk you through some of our thoughts.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Owen Phillips. I'm the CFO. I've been with the company 3 months, and I'm really excited to be here on this journey. M&A is a key part of our strategy, and that's part of the reason for the fundraising, and I'll talk to you to use of proceeds in a moment. In terms of M&A, we're looking across the spectrum of the area we're in, but we're really looking for businesses that have a skill set that we currently don't have, that we can use to bolster our offering, and that have a customer base that we can therefore cross-sell our existing package solutions into them, as well as cross-sell them into our existing. We're looking at a range of businesses. We're actively looking at some at the moment. We're generally looking in the region of circa 5 to 10 million revenue at the moment. These will all be EBITDA accretive, so adding profit to the bottom line. We're looking at a range of areas, particularly looking in the security sector at the minute. And we think there's some really great companies out there, and we think they're really well-priced businesses as well. So as I say, we remain confident we will be able to do at least one acquisition in the next 12 months, we're hopeful. And really it's a key reason for the fundraising. As I say, we want to have the cash on hand, so we're good to go and really move fast. So that's our M&A strategy. If I jump to the next slide, I'll give you an overview of the fundraising, and in part it is to raise money for our M&A strategy. So as I say, the primary placing to raise approximately, we put out there 10 million, we're going to achieve 11, which we're absolutely thrilled about. As I said, certain members of the senior management team are participating. We're putting in, I think it's around 600,000. And in terms of the use of proceeds, which is the bit we're kind of getting really excited about, is raising these funds to really get going. We're going to spend 2 million on an internal transformation project. We want to be a true AI adopter and really walk the talk. We want to be a best case example to our customers, to our employees, of the use of AI in the business. Now, so we're going to do a major internal transformation project. As I say, we're all evangelists. We think this is really the future, and we think that we'll be able to gain so many efficiencies from really putting AI in place. We've got circa 30 use cases at the moment. We've hired a project manager, and the team's already got going. We've actually got one AI engineer starting today. So we're really excited about this as a way of driving efficiencies, driving the bottom line, but also we want to talk to customers and say, yes, this is how we do it. Come down to our offices and see what we do. So this is really an area we're excited about.
So I'm personally inviting all of you to come. So in a year's time, I know Owen says don't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Year's time, all of you guys are invited. We're going to have a capital market day, to our London Tower Bridge office. You come in, we'll hand you an iPad or a VR screen where you'll have a virtual life of what's it like to be an employee at SYSGROUP. You'll be greeted by an avatar, go through an induction process. For different members, you can ask questions, interact actively. Then you'll be going to a room where you'll be met by Heinrich, where you'll be kind of live through virtually AI assisted, enhanced day of a SYSGROUP salesperson. You'll be talking to it through, ChatGPT in a natural language, saying, hey, what are the top 3 customers I need to call on? What are the products? What are the topic I need to discuss? What are some of the conversation I had? Will be pop up? Equally, the same thing on procurement and on and on and on. So, you'll actually get to live and see what the use cases of AI is, and we're quite excited about that.
So on top of that, we're going to use a further 2 million to meet our final earnout payout in Q2 for the TrustStream acquisition from 2023. There will be no further earnout payments due then. And that'll leave a balance of 6 to 7 million retained cash, which we're going to use for working capital and crucially M&A opportunities, which I went through on the previous slide. On top of that, as a final point, we're putting in place a management incentive plan. We recognise that retaining and motivating staff is absolutely crucial and taking them with us on this journey. And so we're going to have a value creation plan and a performance share plan for employees.
Okay. So what I'll do now, there's been some questions submitted ahead of time, and equally there are some questions that are coming up as we're giving the presentation. So let's see if we can do first the pre-submitted. What is the forecast? This is for Owen. What is the forecast for the next 2 years and what are the drivers? And I appreciate most of you probably don't have access to the Zeus research that went out last week.
Okay, so our intention is to achieve 25 million in revenue and 2.2 million in adjusted EBITDA. And then the following year, we're targeting 30 million revenue with 3.8 million adjusted EBITDA. There's obviously a big increase, so that's FY25 to FY26, and that will really be driven by, a big increase in revenue, which will be driven by, as we've discussed, the flywheel effect, but also our consultant-led AI approach really, gaining momentum is our intention. There's an increase in EBITDA as well, and that will really be the efficiencies coming from, as I said, our internal transformation project, combined with really, momentum generating in the sales teams and the AI teams. So that's our objective. As I say, we're excited to crack on and get going.
I mean, this year and next year will be heavy investment. I mean, from a headcount perspective, we expect to go from 100, end of year.
100 to 100, about 125 by the end of the year.
Yeah, so I mean, that's probably the investment we're making before the revenue kind of kicks in and the margin kicks in 2 years from now, right? 26.
Good, yeah.
Next question for Ross. What differentiates you from other AI companies or MSPs?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the differentiation, I think it's the fact that we've got a very highly skilled group of people. So this skill set at the moment in the UK is very, very scarce. And what we've done very quickly is build a team, a fairly significant team in terms of size, but particularly in capability, we have a very wide spread of skills across the team, networking, hosting, cloud, AI, ML, data science. And we've done that very, very quickly. So the skill set is definitely something that differentiates us. As I spoke around in the presentation, we focus very much on production rollouts of AI and machine learning rather than proof of concept. But also we tackle some of the very, very hard problems that customers have. And because we can deliver across that host of platforms that Hijay spoke around, across networking, security, hosting, etc., we're very uniquely positioned to offer machine learning to our customers, irrespective of the environment that they sit in at the moment.
And can anyone else replicate this?
So they can, I guess, there's nothing stopping someone hiring, a group of people very, very quickly. The reality is they probably can't do that. So the team that I put together here very quickly, half of them joined with me, the other half have worked in business with me before, know of me. So it's very much a reputation-led employment cycle that we've been able to take advantage of and hire a team very quickly. If I was to do this without that, it would probably take 18 to 24 months. So I think we've got the first mover advantage, not only on the platform we're building, but also in the people that we've managed to bring on board as well.
Okay. So there are other questions that are, I think, similar to the questions that's been asked. So I kind of combined into that, into those. Some on-screen question. I guess that there was a question about my role as an executive chair. So let me just roll up and say, could you give more detail on your role as executive chairman? How involved as this day-to-day are you? Said, you were not in the photo of the leadership team. Seriously, not because you're too old. Having said that, I think the average age of the people on that screen's in their 30s, and I'm almost in my 60s. So, there's a big gap in terms of age. So I don't think that's too of a misguiding answer. Having said that, no, look, my role, I think, the most difficult and I think time-consuming bit is behind us in terms of which is the putting the team together. I think that the really, the idea is easy to come up with, the thesis, but really it's finding a team that can implement it has been really, I think, the biggest accomplishment if I reflect back on the next 12 years, last 12 months, sorry. And really, I think, we didn't do justice in terms of just giving more in details in terms of some of the backgrounds of the people, but Heinrich as a CRO who's been 10 years, a successful career at Softcat, to leave that and join the journey and bring a few other people in the sales who are very commission driven, if you know this Softcat model, to leave that opportunity and start all new. I think speaks to the potential that we've been able to do. And I think, again, as Ross just alluded to, the reputation that Heinrich has in not only in that company, but in the industry. So Ross, I mean, despite his age, is kind of one of the old timers on ML. When he started his career at JP Morgan, I think he was one of the first to kind of get into the ML space. And he says he's the first one to have installed GPU capacity in UK. So, whilst this, is really exciting, it's a very new. So being in the industry for 15 years does give you a lot of credibility and experience. And I think, again, that's validated that people that is being able to attract. I think it's, you'll hear the challenge in the AI space is really being able to get the right talent and how difficult it is. And I gotta say, they are knocking on our doors. We're not using recruiters. People are just hearing words of mouth to join us. And I think that's quite exciting and for us. And Owen here, I mean, he joined us from Matillion. That's the last unicorn to come out of, I think, UK. I mean, but definitely Manchester. They went from startup out of Warrington to 1.5 billion valuation last year. So, for him, he thinks that we'll have a similar trajectory and growth, and I hope he's right. And and that's just touching field. And I think there's another question below, which is about how well is the integration of TrustStream going. I think it's going really well. And again, part of that being, the owner and the founder, Paul Sullivan, after he made his earnout, decided he's going to stay on. He was very much, when I first met with him, when I joined, ready to leave. He's saying, look, I'm waiting for my earnout check to clear and I'm out of here. But I think the fact that he is signed up to be our CTO, and really, I think, he's working harder than he did when it was he started TrustStream. And he's very excited. He's invested in the equity raise, and he's very motivated. And I think, again, the team that's been put together, not just those who I just mentioned, but, and Wendy, Beck, Samaya, Charles of the world, I think it's been the hardest and the most important part of my job. And I'm still very active in the business, but I think it's my job going forward is to make sure I don't get in the way as much as trying to tell them what to do. I'm never going to tell Ross how to design his machine learning, language model, machine learning models. So, I think I know, after 20, 30 years of managing business, I'm more aware of what I don't need to do versus what I need to do. What's the next question? I think it was one more question, right? Actually, the question is, the new AI team in Heinrich's Salesforce appear to have very different sales approaches. How do you see them working together? How do you ensure they are coordinated? Actually, I think I very much disagree. I think, as we talked about, in terms of having our engagement perspective to be data focused, because that is the outcome that drives the outcome, which is all about AI. I think it's critical that those people work in hand, and the engagement that our salespeople have in terms of how do we help you leverage data is a critical component, or is the kind of the framework that AI falls within the 6 stocks that we're talking about. So actually, I do think it's a kind of very symbiotic. Next one. No, go down, please. A lot of questions. Great to see you putting your money where your mouth is, as in investing in AI. Can you give us comfort that investment is fairly balanced between the bleeding edge and conservative? Well, I mean, the only comfort I can give you is that in 12 months, you're going to come and see it yourself. I mean, I think if we were not confident and comfortable that what we're doing is right, I won't be sending you an invite now. I think hopefully when you come in and see, you will get to feel and see what AI is about, because I think it's beyond kind of the smoke and mirror a lot of people are talking about today. And I think what's exciting for me on a personal level is to be able to become the lighthouse of AI, because I think we need in UK something that we can be proud of and just put ourselves as a forefront. And I think that will put us so far ahead in terms of what everybody else in the world's doing that is a truly AI business. Just another point in terms of, I guess, the first question David asked in terms of, whether wondering about my engagement. I mean, look, title aside or whatever, now whether I'm in the picture or not, I think what you can't discount is that I have, significant portion of my liquid wealth in this business, as well as I further invested on this equity raise. So I'm highly invested and motivated to make this thing successful, as the rest of the management. Okay, next question. Where is it? There's a no.
That one there.
Oh, I think in terms of the as you propose your AI pitch to more customer, what areas of the pushback you're getting from the customer? And I think the 3 areas that we highlighted in terms of understanding what AI is, understanding the financial implication, and kind of having a trust partner that they can take on the journey. And that's why kind of the sales cycle that Ross went through, in terms of where we are focused very much on the outcome and not coming in and more incrementally, proving it out and charging the customer along the way, instead of kind of the typical approach today, saying, of the Big Four or the Capgemini or McKinsey, saying, oh, give me £1 million before I come see you, without really understanding what the outcome will be. So I think that is kind of the big pushback. And I think because how we are approaching and framing our proposition differently than how it's been done historically, I think goes a long way to addressing some of those pushback that we're seeing. Ross, you want to answer that?
Yeah. So question is the way you do data analytics different from what the market offers? Do you actually possess your own analytics software? If yes, can it be patented? So the framework that I went over on the presentation, so that's the unique way in which we deliver deliver our solutions. So the framework that we do that on is proprietary, and we built that in-house. And as a result, we're going through the process of how we secure that at the moment. So can't answer the bit, can it be patented, because it's pending that process, but the answer is, like, we are committed to protecting our own IP.
I mean, I think, Jeremy, the key thing for you to appreciate is that the value that we bring to the company is that our solution is based on the customer's data. It's not on a generic data. So really the value you get from our solution is the fact that our software, our models and our architecture is taking advantage of the information that the company generates, and we're providing solution on the back of that. So it's not the process, the model itself, the software, but how we can understand where is the data and what data do the customer have, and understanding the business requirements of the business to be able to help them with the outcome. The next question. There's one more. So we'll do one more question because I think we're coming up to an hour and we don't want to get over an hour. In terms of M&A, is it possible to talk about valuation in the sector? And can you please give me an idea of likely mix of organic versus acquisition growth of the business? I mean, I think in terms of, so the multiple, I think I gotta say it's more of a buyer's market right now. And I think if I can just put it against my own experience of where, as I said, you know, when I started this journey, put together a list of 300 companies and start talking to them. The expectation and the valuation, I think, is somewhat parallel to what you see in the public market. I think a lot of the business, I would say, in the scale that we're talking about, is like 5 to 10 times EBITDA. I think that's probably where is the right number. That's probably what we look at. And in terms of the mix of organic growth versus acquisition, the forecast that Owen has given is purely on an organic basis.
Yeah, it should have been clear. That excludes acquisitions, the numbers I gave you earlier.
Okay, and I think with that, I think let's kind of end it here. You know, 1 hour.
EJ, thank you very much, Owen and Ross, for your time and your generosity with the Q&A. EJ, I know that investor feedback will be particularly important to you, and I will shortly redirect those on the call to give you their thoughts and expectations. But just before we conclude today's meeting, if I may just come back to you just for a couple of closing comments, and then I'll redirect investors to give you feedback.
Thank you, Mark. First of all, I want to thank you for joining us, taking an hour of your time, and probably times beforehand to get to know the business better. I appreciate this is new space for a lot of you, but it is quite exciting. I think it is a technology, and I think it's an area that is on the cusp of transforming a lot of the businesses out there, and there's a significant demand and requirement. I think we bring a unique solution that no one else is doing it. I think we have put together an amazing team of people with a very broad range of skills that is needed to, I think, participate in this space and deliver the outcome that customers are looking for. From my perspective, I was very keen that as part of the race, we make a opportunity for the retail investors who have supported SYSGROUP in the past to come along in the journey and not be left behind. So hopefully, you know, a lot of people will take up on the opportunity. I do think it's a great investment, and I think it's a quite exciting journey we'll get on. So again, thank you very much. And, you know, we will very much be engaged with the retail community. We will be going around every results to obviously every platform that we can think of to engage you. And in your feedback, please do tell us what's the best way to communicate with you. I know with the on the regulatory, you know, the dynamics is difficult to provide and communicate as often, as quick, and as openly as we can with everyone. So again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for your support.
That's great. EJ, thank you very much indeed. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as we'll now automatically redirect you for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that management can better understand your views and expectations. This may take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of SYSGROUP PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's presentation and wish you all a very good day.